Well, let's discuss this further with Akiva Eldar, a senior columnist for Al-Monitor's Israel Pulse. He joins us now from Tel Aviv. Welcome to the program, Akiva. Now, we know Israel has stepped up its military activity in the West Bank after it says 14 Israelis were killed in 4 deadly attacks inside Israel in recent weeks. Do you have any idea why we are seeing an uptick in violence there?
Well, I think that the question is why now and not a few months ago or a few weeks ago. The message to the Israelis is very clear. You can't have it both ways. You can't have normal relations such as the relationship where you have with the Gulf countries and with Morocco and keep the occupation and close down Israel for Palestinian workers. The other thing is the unholy alliance between radicals in Israel and radicals in the West Bank. Since the Palestinian Authority is not able to deliver anything to the Palestinian constituency, to the people, in means of ending the occupation or even easing the occupation. Just to remind you that Prime Minister Bennett was criticized by his own members, his own party, for just using the phrase West Bank. And he had to apologize. And yesterday, in interviews to the Israeli television, he repeated the Judea and Samaria phrase instead of West Bank. So let alone starting or resuming the negotiations with the Palestinians and giving the Palestinians some hope that in no time, at least the negotiations on the final status of the Judea and Samaria, will start.
Now, the European Union's diplomatic mission to the Palestinian territories has accused Israel of using unacceptable excessive force in fatally shooting an unarmed woman near Bethlehem. Palestinians and human rights groups say the Israeli military often uses excessive force and in some cases has injured or killed people who weren't involved in any violence against Israelis. Is that what's happening here, that Israeli security forces are now perhaps going above and beyond their remit in terms of finding the perpetrators of these attacks?
Yeah, since there is a lot of pressure on the government, as I said, from inside, from the coalition, and from Netanyahu. If you look at the polls, Netanyahu is ahead of Bennett by more than 30 seats, 1/3 of the Knesset. So the pressure goes from bottom down, from top down, from the government to the army, and then to the soldier on the ground. And since there were such a long list of attacks, terrorist attacks in Israel, the young soldiers, sometimes 18 years old, they're kids, they're under great pressure. That here they are confronting another terrorist, and they are sometimes trigger happy. But I think that the other paradox is the Israelis support the Ukrainians and criticize the Russians for using excessive force, against the Russians for using excessive force against the Ukrainian. And here in Israel, the Israeli public is expecting excessive force. For them, it's not excessive. If you look at the polls in Israel, and as I said, Netanyahu is ahead of Bennett, this is what this is the kind of message that the soldiers really get from the newspapers, from the public opinion, and from the government.
Okay, Akiva Eldar from Al-Monitor. We will have to leave it there, but it was really good to get your analysis. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.